Hello and welcome to Recovery Bootcamp's presentation of Recovery Dynamics. My name is David. I am the lead Recovery Dynamics instructor here at Recovery Bootcamp, and we're excited to welcome you guys into our program, give you a little sort of sneak peek at our Recovery Dynamics program, what it's all about, what sort of resources we use both with our clients and with our instructors, and just basically give you a little bit of an overview about the entire program from start to finish. So it's best to start at the beginning. Recovery Dynamics was founded by a man named Joe McQuaney. Joe was an alcoholic from Arkansas who got sober back in the 50s. And early on into his sobriety, he was exposed to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, in the course of him getting sober, he found that he really had a passion for studying the big book and really learning and then sort of sharing or teaching the information within the book to other people. While he was developing this passion, he came into contact with another alcoholic named Charlie who shared the same passion as Joe, and the two of them decided, let's share this knowledge with as many people as possible. So the two of them went on a trip around the world that lasted at least 3 decades, sharing their knowledge of the big book, their passion of the big book, in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings all over the world. And then, in the 70s, back in the 70s, Joe went back to Arkansas where he was from, and he opened a treatment center. And his treatment model, his therapeutic model for his treatment center, became Recovery Dynamics. And we are both excited and honored to be one of the only facilities in the entire country that is licensed to teach the Recovery Dynamics program. Our clients are really receptive to it, and I was a little hesitant there because when we first started teaching Recovery Dynamics, there were a lot of doubters. 12 steps in treatment is surprisingly unorthodox. However, we have found, and I think Alcoholics Anonymous itself has proved, that it's the most effective source of recovery for alcoholics and addicts. So we were really excited when we found this therapeutic model that actually applies 12 steps and step work into the treatment setting. And we've been having success. We've been doing this for over a year now, and the results speak for themselves. The success rate has been way higher than even we anticipated. So it's working, and we'll get into that a little bit later as far as the way the program is outlined and why we feel it has been having so much success. But first things first, I think it's important to share with you some of the tools, some of the books that we use with our clients, and also some of the books that we as Recovery Dynamics instructors use in our program. So I wanted to start with the first book that hopefully, if you're watching this, you already know what this book is. This is the book Alcoholics Anonymous, which is affectionately called the Big Book. And this serves as our textbook. And, it's our textbook not just in Recovery Dynamics, but really in the entire recovery community. In the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, this is the book that is discussed. The differentiator between, reading this book or just having it out for an hour at a meeting and utilizing it in Recovery Dynamics is that, the first thing we tell our clients is that this is not a book you just read and then put down. Okay, that this is a textbook. And you don't just read a textbook, you study a textbook. So our clients, upon admission, every single client that comes into Recovery Bootcamp, in their orientation packet is included one of these books. All right, our clients are required to bring this to their Recovery Dynamics group. We read from this book in our Recovery Dynamics group, and we talk about this book in our Recovery Dynamics groups. It is an essential piece of literature for our program. So that is our first book that we utilize. The next book is called The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. In AA, we call it the 12 and 12. And this book it's also written by Bill Wilson, who is the author of the Big Book. It was published about 15 years after the original Big Book. And it's kind of like AA algebra. It's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit deeper, more philosophical. It's basically 12 separate essays on each of the steps. But there's some really interesting information and really important stuff that Bill talks about in this book that he doesn't cover in the Big Book. So in some of our recovery dynamics groups, we actually read from this book as well and are able to sort of reinforce the information that our clients are learning from the big book with the utilization of this, the 12 steps and 12 traditions. The third book that we use is called The Steps We Took. Now, this book, you may notice, is written by Joe McHugh, who is also the creator of Recovery Dynamics. And, it's really great that Joe wrote this book. One of the biggest problems we run into teaching the big book in Recovery Dynamics is a lot of our clients find the writing to be complex, hard to understand, a bit dated, given that the big book was published about 80 years ago. And I get that. It makes sense. So I think Joe got that too. So Joe made sure that he was able to write a book that almost serves as like a study guide or a cliff notes for the big book. So not only do we read from this book in our Recovery Dynamics groups, I quite often, almost always, am assigning homework to our clients from this book, so that when we cover something in the big book in group that might be a little bit hard to understand, I always make sure that I end the session with a homework assignment in this book, so when the clients get back to their rooms, they're able to read about what we talked about in group and really sort of, again, reinforce the information that they learned about in group, and really helps them to retain what we're talking about. So it's a really valuable asset, and just like we hand out a big book to each client upon their admission at Recovery Bootcamp, we make sure also that every single client that comes into our facility is provided with a copy of this book as well in their orientation packet. And then last but certainly not least is our Recovery Dynamics Counselor's Manual. Now, this is the book that our clients would love to get their hands on, but unfortunately it is just for our Recovery Dynamics instructors. And this is kind of like our holy grail for our instructors. It contains all of the information that Joe McHugh had compiled in the entire Recovery Dynamics program. It contains dozens of lesson plans, so it's what I use personally to plan my groups. It has exercises in it that I can share with my group. It has homework assignments that I can give out to my groups. It's really just an incredible resource for all of us here at Recovery Bootcamp to utilize in our Recovery Dynamics sessions. And one of the main reasons that we do utilize it so often is at Recovery Bootcamp, we believe so much in not only the 12 steps, but the therapeutic model of Recovery Dynamics, that we make sure that all of our clients, while at Recovery Bootcamp, go through Recovery Dynamics 2 times. That's 2 complete cycles. Each cycle is 2 weeks long. So by the end of their first month, all of our clients will have received 2 cycles complete of Recovery Dynamics information. And I'm talking steps 1 all the way to step 12 on 2 separate occasions. So, and I'm really excited about that. I love being able to do it twice. But when I talk about it with people, their question invariably is always the same. And this goes for clients and for treatment professionals. And the question is, well, don't they get bored? The clients say, well, man, that sounds so boring. Treatment professionals say, how do you keep them interested in the same material 2 times? And, the answer is it really isn't boring. Again, we've been doing this for a year, and, our feedback has basically affirmed that point. The clients do not get bored. Like I just mentioned, in our manual, we have multiple lesson plans for the same step. So if I have a client going through their second cycle of Recovery Dynamics, I'm able to present material to them on the same step they learned about previously from a completely different angle. I can change it up on them. And what that does is it keeps it fresh, it keeps them engaged, it challenges them, it really keeps them learning. And by the time the month is over, our clients have really sort of experienced the whole sort of spectrum of the knowledge contained within this book. Another thing I wanted to point out is while at Recovery Bootcamp, our clients are not just encouraged to, but required to get a sponsor and actively be working the 12 steps. So it's really important for me as a facilitator to disclaim to every new client that while we're going to be talking about step work in group, they're going to be getting homework on step work after group, and we're going to be reading from the big book in group. Recovery dynamics does not replace the sponsor-sponsee relationship. That is something we're incredibly passionate about, and like I said, every client while at Recovery Bootcamp is required to be actively working their 12 steps out of the big book with their sponsor. You know, Recovery Dynamics is a very informational program. It's packed full of information. So while our clients are here, they definitely get a lot of exposure to the big book, to the 12 steps. They get an education about recovery, the problem, the solution, the program of action that comprise the 12 steps. But in no way is it meant to replace that sponsor-sponsee relationship. In fact, it's almost meant to support the sponsor-sponsee relationship. And what I mean by that is, you know, I get a lot of questions from clients who are working with sponsors. You know, sometimes in groups someone will say, well, I'm doing my step work this way, and I was just talking to him and he's doing the same step in a completely different way. Are one of us doing it wrong? You know, which is a great question, a realistic question. You know, I'm grateful and really excited that our clients have a place where they can come and ask these questions, where they can get feedback, they can voice concerns. You know, by the end of group, they have a solution to their problem, and the solution is always based around the step work, and it's really a way to reinforce the work that they are doing with their sponsors. So that's basically our Recovery Dynamics program, a very, very general overview. If it were left up to me, I would spend the next 5 or 6 hours breaking it down for you guys in meticulous detail, but unfortunately we don't have the time. So what you can do if you are interested, and I hope that you are, is feel free to visit our website, which is www.recoverybootcamp.com, and you'll be able to find much more information about our Recovery Dynamics program there. And you can always call us at 561-563-8888, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have. So until next time, keep trudging the road of happy destiny, and we'll talk to you soon.